Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to this ceremony today in honor of our military service people who have died as a result of their service while in service. My name is Don Andrzejczyk. I'm also a commissioner of the War Memorial Building. We have a number of our commissioners here today. But we'd like to extend a warm welcome to all of you being here on this very special day. And we thank all the veterans. I know we have a lot of veterans out there, I can tell by the hats, that have served in our country. And we thank you for defending our country and ensuring that we continue with the freedoms that we all have. Also, do we have any Gold Star family members here today? Thank you. This is a day that not only that we honor and remember our service people who died while in service, but the Gold Star family members who lost an immediate family member. So we pay them the respect that they're due, because no one understands the difficulties that they have when they watch a family member go off into the service and not have them return as they should. Okay, so we have our colors. We're going to present our colors today. Present and post our colors.
Present home! Present home! Order home! Right face! March!
I'd like to take a minute, and if we could all join in for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So I can do the invocation. I will have the pleasure and the honor and also the sorrow to present the invocation today. It's a little prayer that sometimes we start our meetings with to remember those who have passed away as a result of their service in the military. I will tell you more about some people who have passed away, but the prayer today is to thank God for and give gratitude to those that made the ultimate sacrifice for our country. And we pray to God that all our military be safe and have the opportunity to come home safely. and we cannot thank those who died in service enough. They're not here with us today, but they're here in spirit, God, and we hope that you descend their spirit on us today so we remember this day and remember them. Thank you. Okay, well, you can be seated now. Now we have a little ceremony. I don't know if you can hear me now. It's hard for me to bend over. A little ceremony on the POWMIA. Please come forward.
Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to the front and to your right of the gathering. As you entered, you may have noticed a table. It is reserved to honor our missing comrades in arms. I will explain. The empty place represents Americans who were or are missing from the services: Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, Space Force, and civilians. This honors ceremony symbolizes that they are with us in spirit. Some here in this room were very young when they went into combat. However, all Americans should never forget the brave men and women who answered our nation's call and served the cause of freedom in a special way. I would like to ask you to stand and remain standing for a moment of silent prayer. Please be seated. I would now like to explain the meaning of the items on this special table. The table is round to show our everlasting concern. The tablecloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their motives when answering the call to serve. The single red rose reminds us of the lives of these Americans and the loved ones and friends who keep the faith, awaiting answers. The yellow ribbon symbolizes our continued uncertainty, hope for their return, and determination to account for them. A slice of lemon reminds us of their bitter fate, captured or missing in a foreign land. A pinch of salt symbolizes the tears of our missing and their families. Please light the candle. The lighted candle reflects our hope for their return. The bound text is a book of faith to represent the strength gained through devotion to sustain those lost from our country. The glasses are inverted. Please turn the glasses upside down. To symbolize their inability to share a toast. The chair is empty. They are missing. Let us now take a moment of silence to honor America's POW MIAs. To the success of our efforts to account for them and to the safety of all now serving our nation.
I see today that we have a number of distinguished guests. Some of them are seated over here. I can't name all of them, but I recognize most of them. And then we have our distinguished guests here that you'll hear them speak to us a little bit about today. But before they do that, I just want to say a few things because this is a solemn day, and it's very touching. And you know, when people enter the military, they take an oath. They take an oath to defend us, to defend our country, and in many cases, they're defending people in foreign lands. And we need to remember that. And for the families that have lost a loved one in service, we celebrate Memorial Day one day a year. They remember every day of the year. When we see the flags, you saw them around the building here. You go to the cemeteries, and you'll see all the flags in the cemetery, thousands of them. Where's Wayne, who's our cemetery officer, who ensures that we have these placed in our cemetery? If you go to the state cemetery in Agawam, which many of you know about, you'll see thousands and thousands of these flags. If you go to Bourne, Massachusetts, you'll see thousands and thousands at the National Cemetery. How many of you have been to Arlington Cemetery? Incredible, 420,000 grave sites there. But among all those flags and grave sites, today is about the few that paid or gave the ultimate sacrifice of their life to our country and our freedom. Also, when we talk about the foreign lands, this is important, I think, for our VFW members and other people. There are many cemeteries around the world, mostly in Europe, that have our veterans who died, our military servicemen and women who died that were killed in action or in battle. That includes France, Belgium, Luxembourg, Cuba, the Philippines. There's monuments and cemeteries of thousands of our military who died in action. And that's kind of the core of today, those that died in action. But in addition to those, the MIAs, the POWs, those who died in action, we call them killed in action or as a result of hostile fire, are those that died as a result of accidents or illness and sicknesses. In the Civil War, more military people died as a result of sickness than by gunshot. In Korea, more of our service people died as a result of the environment, the cold and other environments that caused their death. And then we have all the accidents that we hear about. How about the B-17 up on Montana? I know Mary spoke a lot about that last year. The 20 servicemen or 25 servicemen that died on the way home from the service. Those are included. So when we think of, and also those killed by, unfortunately, friendly fire. Those are all our military that died for our freedom. Now, the mayor had told me during Veterans Day that we have over 50% Puerto Rican population in Holyoke, which is the greatest population of any city in the USA based on percent of population. So I want to take a moment and talk about a few of those people, those heroes, that Puerto Ricans that served in our services. The first one is a Marine. His name is Fernando Luis Garcia. And he's a Marine that served during the Korean War. And what he did is that he actually saved his fellow Marines by covering a grenade with his body. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine the split-second thought that he would give up his own life for his fellow Marines? We don't have a reverend here, but I know there's a chapter and verse, John 15:13, that says, no greater love than to give yourself, sacrifice yourself for your friends. And he most certainly did that. Then there's Frances Vega, the first Puerto Rican woman. She was in a helicopter during the Iraq War, shot down and killed. I wish I could move around, but unfortunately this is stuck here and I'm stuck here. See that table over there? That's very significant. I'm a Vietnam veteran, and there's a Puerto Rican, actually he was half Puerto Rican, half Italian, that was a captain during Vietnam, served 2 tours over there. After he finished his second tour, he decided that he would extend for another 6 months. His hope was to come back home, become a Catholic priest, and serve the orphans that were killed during the Vietnam War. He was on patrol with a number of civilian volunteers, South Vietnam civilian volunteers. They were caught under fire. There was 2 other American soldiers with him. He jumped up and drew fire to himself. He was shot twice. All the other civilian volunteers were able to get away because of his bravery. He was caught by the enemy, became a prisoner of war. They tortured him. He resisted. For 2 years, he was there, being tortured and resisting. He attempted to escape 4 times. Humberto, his name is Humberto Versace. 4 times. Because of his injuries, he had to crawl on his hands and knees to escape. 4 times he was captured and returned. The enemy finally killed him. MIA. He was never returned. His remains were never found and never returned. A number of years later, President George W. Bush awarded him the Medal of Honor. He was the first soldier in captivity that was awarded the Medal of Honor for his actions while being a prisoner of war. The last time they heard from him, when he was put into a little cage that you could hardly move in, they heard him singing. Remember that when they sing God Bless America? He was singing God Bless America. So that's an example of the brave men and women that we have in our service. Okay. I guess I'd like to introduce our speakers now. Let's see who we have first. Tessa Murphy Ramboletti.
Good morning. On behalf of the Holyoke City Council, I want to thank you all for being here today. And I want to thank my fellow councilors for joining me. We have a great turnout. 10 out of 13 of us were able to make it today, so thank you all for taking the time to be here. And our school committee members, city officials, it's great to see everyone. And thank you to everyone who helped plan this event. I know that there's so much that goes into it, and it's a labor of love, and it's not just for this weekend. The work that you all do for our city and our city's veterans every year does not go unnoticed, so thank you. As we gather together on this Memorial Day, as it's been said, we pause not for celebration, but for remembrance. This is a day set aside to honor the men and women who gave their lives in service to our country. And thank you for sharing these stories today, because I think it's so important for us to always remember the people who came before us. It's a time to speak their names, to hold their stories close, and to remind ourselves that the freedoms we live with were paid for by lives that ended far too soon. As someone from a younger generation, it's not a secret that I'm a little on the younger side. I think it's always important that I recognize that many people my age have grown up at a distance from the kind of sacrifices that we honor here today. My generation has not been asked to serve the way generations before us were asked. And yet, it is exactly because of their service that we are able to stand here, free to speak, free to gather, and free to live our lives. That is a responsibility that we carry forward, to remember, to listen, to honor, not just in words, but in how we live and what we value. We honor them not only today with flags and flowers and ceremonies, but we, especially those of us on the council that I'm here to represent today, we honor them with how we serve our communities, how we protect our shared values, and how we look out for one another despite all of our disagreements or differences. And today, it's important that we honor those who never came home. So to the families who are here today that have lost loved ones, may we always remember them, and may we live in a way that honors them and their legacy. Thank you, everyone.
How many of our veterans out there lost a friend or knew somebody that died in action or died as a result of the service? Please raise your hand. Many of you. Okay. Our next speaker today is Mayor Garcia. The mayor has been a great support. He attends all these events. He's a great guy, and I'm so happy that he could make it here today. Not only as the mayor, but as a friend and a supporter. Thank you.
Thank you, and good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I do want to take the opportunity to speak on this important and very meaningful day. I'm certainly grateful for the work of Lottie Rua, our new Veteran Services Director, by the way. If folks haven't, if you want to just take a moment and start. Thank you, Lottie. Wilfredo Melendez from our Veteran Services Department, the Holyoke Patriotic Event Committee for organizing today's observance. Thank you to our War Memorial Commissioners that maintain this beautiful building that we're standing in. All of our duly elected members of our City Council, school board members, Madam Representative, thank you so much for being here. To all of you, welcome to the City of Holyoke. 80 years ago this month, World War II came to an end in Europe. 405,000 Americans had given their lives for freedom, democracy, decency, not just for their own country, but for the whole world. More than 100,000 American patriots died in World War I, 58,000 in Vietnam, 36,000 in Korea. On this Memorial Day, this day of remembrance, we honor and we mourn the members of our armed forces who answered their nation's call, made the ultimate sacrifice. We honor them, unfortunately not as veterans. They didn't have a chance to become veterans, but as heroes who gave everything until they had nothing else to give. In the troubled times in which we live, with Russia's war on Ukraine, India, and Pakistan in conflict, and American alliances with traditional allies frayed, we cannot forget those who, as President Lincoln put it, quote, gave the last full measure of devotion, end quote. And just as important, we cannot forget what it was they died defending. And as Lincoln said, that we'll quote here, that we are here highly resolved that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth, end quote. Look, I had never had the honor of serving in our armed forces, but I have had the privilege of participating actively in local government, practicing self-governance, and be a steward of democracy and the republic. That is my greatest privilege because it is a privilege that I know countless of other people have sacrificed their lives to protect. Interestingly enough, history does find its way to repeat itself, but that's why we have these kinds of ceremonies, these kinds of traditions to reflect, to remember, to honor, and not to forget how delicate we humans can be, and to reaffirm our commitment to the important values people died defending. So on behalf of the citizens of Holyoke, thank you.
Our next speaker today is Patricia Duffy, who is our state representative.
Good morning, everybody. It's a really beautiful group of Holyokers out there. It's wonderful to see you all. And the good thing about going third is that the mayor and city council president have already thanked everybody, so I just want to echo their thanks and welcome. I'm so grateful to the folks who put this together so we can come together on this important day, the stories we've heard, the meaning of the day. As time has gone on, the meaning sometimes, the context changes for many of us depending on what's going on in our country and the world, but it's always about the importance of lifting up those who gave the ultimate sacrifice. In one of the, there's commissions or reports and stories over the years. It was Decoration Day for a short while, became Memorial Day. In one of these iterations, one of these grand studies of the meaning of Memorial Day, in the year 2000, there was a White House commission that called on U.S. citizenry to give back to their country in honor of Memorial Day, this country that provides us with so much freedom and opportunity. And this particular remembrance of Memorial Day really means a lot to me because we have veterans here who put themselves in harm's way. We have families who have lost loved ones. We have those of you who talked about seeing your colleagues fall. You've already given back. And this is an opportunity for the rest of us to think about how can we give? How can we give? And it's fitting that we're honoring Mr. Peter Tallman today too. I mean, talk about a model to emulate. He's served in the armed forces. His career was in public service. He chose to run for office and practice public service in that way. That's something for all of us to emulate. We are at our best as a community, as a city, and as a country when we remember that we should be here for each other. And so I want to thank you again for bringing us together and remembering that important value. Thank you.
I have the privilege of introducing our guest speaker today, Peter Tallman. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about him. There's a lot, in fact, not a little. We see him at the gym, when we're at the gym, we see him around, and I know many of you know him. But here's the story about Mr. Tallman. Peter R. Tallman is a long-life Holyoke resident. He is the youngest of 10 children to David E. and Ann O'Leary Tallman. He is married to the former Nettie, Meridia Garcia. They have 2 daughters, Rosa and Jessica, and 6 grandchildren, Branda, Julia, Joshua, Jane, George, and Nina. Peter graduated from Holyoke Catholic. Anybody else? Holyoke Catholic? Great. Holyoke Catholic, okay. In 1975, quite a few years after me. And Holyoke Community College with an associate's degree in business administration. He received that in 1987. After graduating from high school, Peter enrolled in the Army and was stationed at Fort Bragg, which is a tough base, North Carolina, as a supply specialist at 249 Repair Parts Company. While at Fort Bragg, he graduated second in his class in December 1977 at Basic Leadership School. That was an accomplishment. Peter also played on the post baseball team for the Fort Bragg Dragons, ran the 440-meter hurdles for the 530th S&S Battalion track team, and was involved in several plays at Fort Bragg Playhouse.
That was an
Wow.
acronym. It's an active, yeah.
That's awesome. After 3 years of honorable service in the U.S. Army, Peter worked at Montom State Reservation. We all know that, as a general laborer and groundskeeper under CETA program. Peter was then employed from 1981 to 2018 as a letter carrier for the U.S. Assistance Program, and also an employee of the Letter Assistance Program for the Western Mass Vermont District.
That was the Postal Service.
The Postal Service, okay. A union treasurer, representative for the combined federal campaign, and collected for the MDA, Muscular Dystrophy Association. While working in the Postal Service and missing military life, that happens, right? You miss military life. Peter joined the U.S. Air National Guard at Air Force in Barnes, Westfield. Any members of that here? Okay, well, we're a few. He was deployed to Kuwait in support of Operation Southern Watch in January and February of 2003. Among his awards and decorations are the Air Force Commendation Medal, Air Force Terrorism Medal, Air Force, I think that's the, hold on, let me go back here. Air Force Achievement Medal, Air Force Outstanding Unit Award Medal, and the Global War on Terrorism Medal. He was a squadron representative on the Enlisted Advisory Council, bringing the concerns of his fellow airmen to the commander. While working as a letter carrier and serving in the military, Peter decided to run for the seat in the Holyoke City Council and was elected as a councilor at large in 1991, serving one term. Then in 2001, he was appointed to serve as a councilor by his peers due to a vacancy. Peter he was elected every 2 years until 2023, when he retired from the city council after serving the community that he loves for 25 years. 25 years of service in Holyoke. As a city councilor, Peter represented his constituents, their concerns, rarely missing any events involving veteran issues. Peter, along with City Councilor Bartley, I think David is here.
Yes, he is.
David Bartley, okay, sponsored legislation for the Holyoke to become a Purple Heart City. Peter is a member of the National Associations of Letter Carriers, Branch 46, the American Legion Post 325, who presented the colors and posted the colors for us today, 104th Alumni Association for the Air National Guard, Ancient Order of Hibernians Division 1, Disabled American Veterans Chapter 11, and a lifetime member of Our Lady of the Cross Church. Peter has been a blood donor for the American Red Cross for over 50 years. And he donated over 20 gallons. That's more than the gas you have in your gas tank of blood, and over 468 units of platelets. In 2019, Peter was also honored with the Human Relations Award by the Greater Holyoke Council for Human Understanding. Peter's life has been one of service to God, to country, and our community. And we're very pleased to have Peter, I believe his rank was Technical Sergeant, is that correct? To speak to us today on this day of remembrance and honor So will you please come up here? Thank you, Pete.
To find my notes here. State Rep Duffy, Council President, Tessa, Murphy Ramboletti, Mayor Garcia, my fellow and former councilors in the City Council, grateful to serve with you, commissioners, school committee members, I'm really grateful to be here today. I'm humbled to be here today and to share some reflections on Memorial Day. You know, about 3 weeks ago, Wilfredo and Wayne asked me to speak at this event, and I sort of was stunned a little bit. I wasn't a commander of a base, I didn't serve in Iraq or Afghanistan, and what do I have to offer? And I think today I have a lot to offer, because several years ago, my Uncle Clark gave his life for our freedoms in Saipan, and that was 1944. He was a young man of 21 and gave his life for the freedoms we share today. So when I sit out there on Memorial Day or Veterans Day, I have a little clipping that I usually keep in my coat pocket about the story about him when he was serving and how he died in Saipan in 1944. So I grew up in a family where military service was a way of life. 5 of my older brothers served before me. I looked up to them, and I admired their commitment to something bigger than themselves. One of the greatest influences on me was someone I never got to meet, but whose presence was always felt. My Uncle Clark was my father's youngest brother. In 1940, when he was still in high school, he joined the National Guard. Within a year, our nation was at war. And not long after, Clark's unit was activated. In 1944, as part of an American offensive in the Pacific, he was killed in action in the Mariana Islands, just 21 years old, and so far, very far from home. Growing up, I also always felt so proud that Clark was my uncle, but the family never recovered from this. Little that we can do or say will console for the death of our loved ones. I have some excerpts of a letter that one of Clark's comrades wrote to his widow. I'd like to read a portion of that now. I may get a little emotional because when I was reading the letter, it's really touching. You know, it's like a hand account of what really happened and where he was at. And this is from a PFC, Robert K. Kajunin, Company I, 106th Infantry. Clark was such a swell fellow, and I am sure he was liked by all the boys. We really were pals and shared many hardships. Together we were in the invasion of Mariana Islands in a Weetalk. There I was wounded on our second day of battle. Clark was only 8 feet away from me and did not know I was wounded. He always told me that he wanted to go home someday soon to see his baby. He had a young daughter at home. I think he said it was a girl. He showed me a picture of her once, and right then and there, I made up my mind to give him all the help I could in any more battles, so he'll have that chance of returning back to you, his wife and baby. Well, now it's awfully hard to tell you what actually took place in Saipan. Yes, the battle was hard and terrible today. I can't understand how I got out of that battle without even a scratch. At one place on our 5th day of battle, we were told to take a hill along about 1,000 yards to our left. And we had to run about 200 yards to the edge of a tree in a cane field, and then across an open field. I ran ahead of the squad, and Clark was the third man in line. We made it across okay, and plenty of protections there. We then moved forward up the hill. We made it okay, although there was plenty of bullets flying around on that hill. On that hill, we were told to dig in and hold that hill through the night. Clark was on a small little hill just to our left, and there were some wounded fellows to our right from a different squad. And Clark was trying to help them. After everything was taken care of, he stood up and made a run towards us, and he didn't make it. Clark was shot from the farthest point right and left of us. I didn't know he was hit. Then the medic went to help him, but returned to report that it was over. Sorry to tell you about this long after you have already heard about it, but I just wanted to let you know how I felt about him and what he meant to me. I shall never forget him. Now that was sent in September 27th of 1944, and my Uncle Clark died in June of 1944. Reading this, I'm reminded of we already heard today about the Gospel of John 15:13. A greater love hath no man than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. Clark died trying to help his fellow soldiers. He did what he felt called to do, and he couldn't have known how his sacrifice would continue to resonate for generations to come. It's no stretch to say that I wouldn't be standing before you today as a proud U.S. Army and Air National Guard veteran if it weren't for Clark's influence. So on Memorial Day, I think it's important to remember people like Clark and all service members who gave their lives for this country. And when we remember them, we should also honor the values they fought for. When Lincoln dedicated the field at Gettysburg, he noted that there was nothing he could say to add anything to the sacrifice of those who died. He understood that words wouldn't suffice. He said earlier, as the mayor said, it is live for the living rather to be dedicated here to the unfinished work, which they who fought have thus far nobly advanced. And he resolved that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, in that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. Our system of government is a precious thing, and it's fallen to each generation of Americans to protect and defend it. We have a government of the people because of all those veterans, from Gettysburg to the Mariana Islands to Afghanistan, who have laid down their lives. They did it for us. That's why what I was thinking about this weekend as I walked through the cemetery placing flags on the graves of service members. They did it for us. I prayed to be worthy of their sacrifice. I prayed for the grace to always treat this country and all who reside in it with love, care, and dignity that are owed. I hope that we take time out to remember and celebrate the gift that those people have given and the opportunities that gift has opened up to all of us and our families. We should also remember all our veterans. They deserve the very best. As a nation, we must commit to do everything we can to make sure our veterans and their families get the care and support they've earned. Housing, health care, mental health care, employment opportunities, everything necessary for leading a dignified life. And we must also be there to support families of our fallen members. And today we have a Gold Star family here, and I thank you for your service, your family's service, and for what they have done for our nation. Also, we must dare to support our fallen members, families with an empty seat at the table tonight, families that will never really recover. We owe it to them to walk alongside them. May the spirit of this day be one of freedom, and let us remember with love, gratitude, and compassion those who have gone before us. I consider myself deeply blessed to be a member of this community, a citizen of this country, and a retired member of our armed forces. I wish you could have heard from my Uncle Clark this morning instead of me, but because I'm here, I dedicate these remarks to his memory and to all the veterans who gave their last full measure of devotion to this country we love. Before I close with a brief ending, just want to read a poem here that actually was written, it was in the Sun just this past weekend, our local paper, from a gentleman that I served in the Postal Service, Earl Bonnet. He was our postmaster. And it's fitting that I read this to you today. Memorial Day 2025. Another year has passed, and more of our service members too. Now we should thank them for the sacrifices made for me and you. Is it too much to ask that we take a minute to salute them? This one day too, regardless of religion, and say amen. Since the Revolutionary War and even today, thank you is little enough to say. So as you walk past the flag-draped grave, think of the veterans' sacrifices they gave. For they served our country to keep us all free. Let us not forget they have done what they have done for you and me. I want to thank my family, my wife Nettie, my rock, for being here, my daughter Jessica, my granddaughter Jane. And when I got the call to make the speech, I was trying to get some ideas and what should I put down. And my granddaughter's in the 6th grade up in Belchertown, and I asked her, "What's your thoughts on Memorial Day?" Within an hour, she wrote out a little thought about what her Memorial Day meant to her, and I'm going to read that right now. To me, Memorial Day isn't just a day where we get out from school or work and hang out. It's not a day where we fire up the grill and have some s'mores, or of course you can do that stuff, but you also have to take the time to honor and remember all those who have died serving our country. And all those who, in general, service members that serve our country every day. They are the ones who we should remember, no one else. All of us should stay and take the time to think about veterans, even if it's just a little bit. You know, I sometimes think that, I don't do enough, and there's times that, the Memorial Day comes along and, we put the flags out in the graves, and we go to the Vets Lunch on a Thursday and try to support our veterans. But I know there's more that I can do, and I just have to find out. I have to find that purpose. But it's a day that we really have to take a time to just remember the ultimate sacrifices that all our service members made. And it's a poignant day for me to bring up my Uncle Clark, because here's a young man that never got a chance to go back to see his young child, his daughter, and his wife. And it's not just today. I think it's every day that we have to support our veterans. We have to look at what can we do on a daily basis to be there for them, especially the ones that struggle. There's a lot of veterans that struggle with mental illness, and we have to be there to support them. I got a message from Gina Nelson today, and she's part of the Community Roots program that does It does a vet lunch every Thursday up at St. Paul's on Appleton Street. And I try to get there often and just sit there and talk to some veterans. Find out about them. Where did they go? What service? What branch were they in? And where did they serve? And she was going to try to be here today, and it was fitting that she couldn't because she had to help a veteran. That's what it's all about. It's about helping the veterans. And the Memorial Day is about the sacrifice that they've made and what can we do to remember them. I really was glad that Mr. Andrzejczyk spoke about some of the veterans that have served and sometimes the forgotten ones that we don't know about. So in closing, I just want to state that I'm very grateful and very glad that I was asked to speak here today as a proud veteran and as a nephew of somebody that actually gave their life for our country. May God bless you all. May God bless our veterans. And may God continue to shed his grace on the United States of America. Thank you very much.
That was very well done, and we can all tell when someone comes up here and speaks from the heart and has a real understanding of the day that we are here and the remembrances we were making today. I'd like to continue on with the Rotary presentation. We have two ladies. We have Barbara Moran and Kathy Leica. Are they here?
Yep, right.
Barbara's here. Barbara's here.
Oh, okay, over there. Sorry.
Good morning and happy Memorial Day. My name is Barbara Barron and I am the chair of the Holyoke Rotary Club's Flag for Hero program and a past president of our club. Our club also encompasses other communities, the communities of South Hadley and Granby. We're trying to spread our group out into those communities every day. After hearing about the Flags for Heroes program, our club decided that this would be the perfect opportunity for us as a club to do something wonderful for our community. And this year, not only do we have 71 flags flying at the Holyoke Public Library, but we also have 27 flags flying in South Hadley at the Town Hall. Each year, each American flag represents a hero who is honored today. Some of our heroes are veterans, first responders, healthcare workers, police officers, and many others. Some are even the sponsor's personal hero and have passed, and some are still with us. So I thank you for allowing me to mention those people today, even though not all of them are veterans. Every one of them is special to somebody. And thank you all for being here today to help us honor them. We would like to thank the Holyoke Public Library and the town of South Hadley for partnering with us and giving us two beautiful spaces to display our flags. We would like to thank the Mount Tom Masonic Lodge of Holyoke for allowing us to store our flags in their magnificent building. We would also like to thank this year's corporate sponsors, the Richard and Barbara Whitcomb Foundation, Holyoke Gas and Electric Department, Mountain View Landscape and Lawn Care, Inc., Carl and Shirley Eager, D&S Plating Company, Holyoke Credit Union, Marcotte Ford, Peter Bruno, People's Bank, River Valley Counseling Center, Positive Regard Network, Greenfield Cooperative Bank. I want to invite all of you to go to the Holyoke Public Library to see the flags. They will be proudly flying there until July 5th. So please join me in honoring the following heroes. Jack Greaves, Air National Guard. Harry Chandler, Pearl Harbor's survivor and the last World War II member of the Mount Tom Masonic Lodge in Holyoke. Frederick R. McGivern, S-1 U.S. Navy, World War II. James H. McGivern, First Lieutenant, U.S. Army Air Corps, World War I. John Edward Benoit, SN, U.S. Navy, Korean War. Ronald Rudy Duval. Eugene Zabek, First Lieutenant, U.S. Army, Korean War. Edwin Zabek, SH-3, Petty Officer, U.S. Navy, Korean War. Senior Master Sergeant Charles S.R. Beatty, U.S. Air Force, Flight Simulator, Westover Air Force Base, and Vietnam War. Leo Klesiak, best English teacher ever. The devoted employees of the Holyoke Public Library for their unwavering commitment to education, access, and community service. Morris Joseph Ferreter, Private First Class, U.S. Army. The staff of the Holyoke Boys and Girls Club. Ralph DeCesar, World War II stepfather, beloved stepfather. Ed Glicka, Specialist E4, U.S. Army, Vietnam War. Paula and Harold Bruno. A1C E4, Leonard Michael Mikulachik, Air Force, Vietnam War. Gerald D. Devine, Chief Petty Officer, U.S. Navy, World War II and Korea. Carlton McKay, veteran of World War II, retired firefighter in Gloucester, Massachusetts. Aaron W. Wilson, U.S. Army, attorney. Michael E. Sheedy Sr., U.S. Army, World War II, Tech 5 radio operator. Michael E. Sheedy Jr., Holyoke Police Sergeant, retired, U.S. Army, E5. Jeremy LaFleche, U.S. Army, Sergeant First Class. Edward Joseph Daly, World War I. Edward James Daly, World War II. William Daly, World War II. James H. Armitage, World War I. George Muller, Korea and Vietnam War. Mary Nadazinski Barron, mother-in-law extraordinaire, mine, and the best bocce ever. Frances Cronin Moriarty, my beloved mother of 11 children. Joseph Dietz, a volunteer who fought in the Franco-Prussian War, grandfather and U.S. immigrant. Eileen Hillman, seaman second class, U.S. Coast Guard Reserves. Merle C. Hillman, pharmacist mate, first class. Sergeant Brendan Quinn, U.S. Army 0153 vet, 3rd BDEI, 3rd ID. Lino A. Aikini, Robert J. Lawrence, World War II, Army Air Corps. Kinjamin Thompson, Dayton Oliveria. Sergeant Major William Bucky Gorham, U.S. National Guard, Lieutenant from the Holyoke Police Department, and one of HHS's Athletic Hall of Fame. George W. Meddy, Holyoke Public Library's President of the Board, retired Director of the Defense Contract Management Agency, and Holyoke Fire Commissioner. Manuel Frau Ramos, Holyoke Public Library Holyoke Public Library VP of the Board. He's a retired UMass Amherst faculty member and editor of El Sol Latino. Major Edward J. O'Leary, U.S. Army. Donald Don Dwight, Massachusetts Lieutenant Governor from 1971 to 1975, Captain of the U.S. Marine Corps and Reserve, newspaper journalist for the Holyoke Transcript Telegram. E. Richard Duval, Private U.S. Army. Wait a minute. There we go. Donald K. Duval, Captain of the U.S. Air Force. Robert W. Burge, Petty Officer First Class, U.S. Navy. Richard Whitcomb, U.S. Army. Sebastian English, U.S. Army. Clayton English, U.S. Army. Frank Dorman, U.S. Army. Gary Rohn. To all U.S. Navy veterans, past and present, at the Holyoke Veterans Home. To all Army veterans, past and present, at the Holyoke Veterans Home. To all U.S. Marine Corps veterans, past and present, at the Holyoke Veterans Home. All U.S. Air Force veterans, past and present, at the Holyoke Veterans Home. All U.S. Coast Guard veterans, past and present, at the Holyoke Veterans Home. To all those who are no longer with us and have inspired us to do what is beneficial to all concerned. To those unknown, the Holyoke Police Department and the Holyoke Fire Department. Robert E. Swan, Holyoke Fire Chief, retired, and former Holyoke Credit Union Board of Director. Brian Marcotte from Marcotte Ford. Al Marcotte, Marcotte Ford. In honor of the River Valley Counseling Center's veterans, past and present. John A. Foley Sr., U.S. Marine Corps, World War II. Catherine Bevan, Corporal Stephen Murphy, U.S. Army, Korea. And that is our list of veterans. Thank you so much for allowing us to come and talk about our heroes today. And I wish you all a great day, and I hope you'll take the time to go down to the library and see our beautiful flags. Thank you very much.
We're going to continue on with a couple of some musical presentations, and the first will be by the Holyoke High School Madrigal Choir, directed by Mark Todd. And we have sophomores, juniors, and seniors today, and they're doing a great job, and we appreciate it. I'm sure you're going to enjoy their versions of what they have to present to us today.
From the mountains
to the prairies,
America, my home, sweet home.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans wide with love.
God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America,
was very nice. Thank you all. Very, very well done. Now we have the Holyoke Caledonian Pipe Band, directed by Pipe Major Roger Bernier. If you could do your presentation for us. Thank you. That was awesome. Okay, we have a benediction is next by Reverend Bernard Smith. If you could step up, please.
Good morning. May we all just take a posture of prayer. Lord, we thank you for the lives recognized in our salute to the fallen and the countless others who provided the ultimate sacrifice with their lives. Lord, we thank you for all that participated and provided presence. And God, may you comfort all the families as they remember their friends and families at today's memorial service in the great city of Holyoke. Lord, I ask, as it is written in the book of Hebrews, now may the God of peace, through the blood and the eternal covenant brought to you back from the dead, our Lord Jesus, the great shepherd of the sheep, equip you with everything good for doing his will. And may his work in us be pleasing to him, through Jesus Christ, to whom be glory forever and ever. Amen. God bless you.
Okay. Could we all stand for the retiring of the colors? Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our ceremony today, observance of Memorial Day. I want to thank all of you for taking the time to be here. Thank all our representatives and speakers today that did an incredible job. The choir, thank you for taking the time to be here, especially the young people that took their time here. The pipe band, for everyone. And I want to also recognize the Holyoke Auxiliary Traffic Division who took the time to be here, and Rosie also, who's joined us today. And I mentioned my wife here because her family is a military family from Thailand, and the Thai people, for the Thai military, was an ally of ours in the Vietnam War. And the base that I was at in Thailand, a B-52 base, a B-52 crashed and killed 2 of our Thai guards who were guarding the base. So even though, you know, we're concentrating on the U.S., we lost a lot of allies. In fact, if you go into the memorial room over here, if you have a chance to walk out, you'll see in World War II or some of the wars, they actually list some of our allies who had died, who are allies of ours, who are from Holyoke, that actually died in some of the wars. So this concludes our ceremony today. I want to thank you all for being here. And today is a day of remembrance. If you walk out and go to any of our memorials, Vietnam, Korea, all the memorials, you'll see some names of people that died or killed in action. If you go to the cemeteries, you'll see some of the graves of people in those states killed in action. And some of them have an emblem of a picture of the military person that died, killed in action. So again, thank you for being here.